Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay, here to talk Packers, Bears. We got a jam-packed show. We're going to try to go in rapid fashion tonight. First things first, Packers roster moves. We're going to hit that as they made a flurry of roster moves, one around the quarterback position, which we kind of talked about the other day. I want to say we kind of called this just with Malik Willis's future up in the air. That's going to bleed into the Malik Willis update. Not really an update, but Dan Orlovsky gave his 2 cents on Malik Willis's value, and kind of we'll talk about maybe the future of Malik there. We'll hit the Packers-Bears injury report as that information dropped, albeit it was a simulated practice, right? If they had a practice, this is what the injury report would look like. We'll get into Barryn Sorrell's first start. We've been hitting on that stuff this week in terms of, I think you guys can go back and watch the videos from earlier today where we hit on Trayvon Diggs' first start. And then with the Packers, of course, we also hit on Colin Oliver's first start as a NFL player. You can go watch that. So we're going to do that with Barryn Sorrell. And then we'll talk about the John Harbaugh firing it's heated up. It's got a lot of activity going in the coaching carousel. And we'll specifically talk about how that affects Jeff Hafley and his future with the Green Bay Packers. Before we get into it all, if you would do that YouTube stuff for us, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Got Tim joining us live in Green Bay. Tim, how you doing tonight, bub?
Happy to be here, man. Long day, but ready to talk some ball, man. Let's go.
I relate to that, man. It's been kind of a long day for me too, man. I'm excited about, just like I said, we got a lot of topics to hit, but we're going to try to hit on them as thoroughly as we can while trying to respect everybody's time in here too and get y'all out of here early. So with that being said, shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all joining us. Let's get into it, Tim. First things first, man. The Packers have made a flurry of roster moves really around the practice squad more or less, but one around the quarterback position. And this doesn't really catch us off guard, right? We kind of talked about this with Desmond Ridder. It felt like what the Packers were doing were setting themselves up for the future potentially if Malik Willis does break the bank in free agency. And, of course, we'll talk about that here in just a second. But here is what Tom Silverstein tweeted out. Packers have signed quarterback Desmond Ridder to the active roster from the practice squad. They also signed wide receiver Julian Hicks, wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson. It's weird, right? Keyshawn Johnson. Not that Keyshawn Johnson, though, right? Tim, wasn't there a great Keyshawn Johnson that played for the Jets?
That was Keyshawson.
I got a little excited. I said, man, he's coming out of retirement. He might be playing left tackle. I don't think he's going to play receiver. He's a little bit bigger nowadays. And tied in Messiah Swinson to the practice squad. They released quarterback Clayton Tune. So, Tim, it took one game, and they said, Clayton, thank you for your service. We're going to go in a different direction.
It's Clayton, I've seen your podcast. You're out of here.
Yeah, exactly, man. If you play football as consistently as you podcast, Bub, we don't need you in the building, I believe is what they said there. So let's kind of break these down, man. Let's start with Desmond Ridder. And we talked about this the other day. People look at Desmond Ridder. He's been on like 3 different teams now and cut from practice squads and this and that. And of course, we poached him, I think, from the Vikings practice squad, if I remember correctly. He's been with Atlanta. I think he was in Arizona, and then he went to Minnesota. But people forget Malik Willis was ready to be cut from Tennessee, right? And he was going to kind of be thrown on the trash heap, so to speak. The Packers traded a 7th-round pick for him. They flipped him into one of the better – I feel comfortable saying one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. I mean, he's graded out in the 90s. Every opportunity he's got, he's played really, really well. So you take him – That's right, Coach. That's right. You take him on as a project, and you're now flipping that from a 7th-round pick to probably what could turn into, and I don't know what the best comp pick you can get is. I've heard 3rd-round pick. I've heard others say, no, you can't get more than a 5th. I'm not a comp comp pick guru here, nor do I play one on TV. So Bates, if you want to take a second, look that up, man. What's the maximum value you can get in terms of a comp pick? Now, it won't be for 2026. It would be for 2027. Maybe the Packers can massage that situation enough to somehow, some way. I don't see there being enough room to franchise tag, then trade, because you got to kind of tie that cap up a little bit. But would like to know what the maximum comp pick is. That would be for 2027. But how Desmond Ridder comes into play here, Tim, he was the third ranked quarterback in the same draft as Malik Willis, where Malik Willis was the first quarterback. Now, we know Kenny Pickett went before Malik Willis in that draft, and I think we all feel comfortable saying they missed that one, right? So with that being said, it's kind of interesting to see. It sounds to me like Matt LaFleur, or not Matt LaFleur, but Brian Gutekunst and his scouting staff probably had a very similar grade to Malik Willis as they did Desmond Ridder. Maybe they had Malik Willis with a first-round grade, or maybe even a second-round grade. Maybe they had, Desmond Ridder a tier or two below him. But nonetheless, kind of feels like Desmond Ridder might be the quarterback of the future in terms of backing up Jordan Love in Green Bay. And to the best of my knowledge, Tim, one last fact here, I believe what it means is by them signing him, they obtain his rights through next year, right? It's going to kind of essentially turn him into a futures contract, right? So how do you feel about this, man?
Put Gangster Goody up on the screen real quick, because I love this move. No disrespect to Clayton, but I love the move, right? We all know what's going to happen with Malik in free agency, right? So, making a move like this, signing Desmond Ridder, active roster. You bring up my boy Julian Hicks. I've been talking about him at camp. I'm excited about this. You release Clayton Tune, best of wishes to him. Messiah Swinson, a guy that we're familiar with, moves up and he's on the practice squad. So I think this is a good move all around by Goody and the boys at 1265. I'll take it. Because like you said, like when you look at Ridder and you look at Willis, you're talking about two guys that were probably recruited around the same parameters. And obviously Malik Willis is that dude, but looking at Desmond Ridder, it's a good move, right? You're thinking ahead. You're thinking to the future. We've got our lineup set for Saturday, right? It's going to be Malik and Jordan as your QBs. So making a move like this, I'm not opposed to it at all.
Yeah, and United Bates says it looks like a third-round pick, typically a late third-rounder, is the maximum comp pick you could get. Now, again, that won't be for 2026. If someone does sign him to a huge contract, we'll talk about that here in a minute, then it would be a 2027 third-round pick, which, hey, you flip the 7 into a 3, and you got great backup play, right? Now, I would love to have Malik Willis back as a backup, but I don't think anybody's kidding themselves into thinking we're going to pay, over
$25 million for a backup.
Right. And there are some people, again, we'll talk about it here in a second. There's some people that think he may go for $40 million per, Tim. Like, it's just wild to think about. So
forget what I'm saying. That's double what I'm saying. Holy cow.
It's wild. Thank you for that info, Bates. Appreciate you, buddy. Ron Sample says Ridder has to feel like he hit the jackpot. This could save his career. Completely agree, Ron. Completely agree. Get in there with Matt LaFleur. Get into an offensive scheme system where you could kind of embed yourself, learn the system, learn how it's quarterback friendly, and kind of maybe come in and showcase your skills every now and again as a backup and show that, hey, all right, yeah, I am an NFL level quarterback, as opposed to bouncing around to all these teams that have had coaching problems and everything in between. Notice I didn't mention he was on any teams where it's like, wow, that's a year in and year out solid team, right? Atlanta struggled this year. They missed the playoffs. Obviously, Arizona is a dumpster fire. Look like they might be moving on from Kyler Murray, which that's something that could play a role in the Malik Willis sweepstakes as well. Yeah. If Kyler Murray hits free agency, someone might have a higher grade on him coming into the draft as opposed to a Malik Willis and what he's put on tape recently. Maybe someone would bid higher on him as opposed to Malik Willis. That could happen if for some reason he is a free agent. And then, of course,
Arizona clearly moving on from a lot of guys right now.
Yes.
We'll just, leave that alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with what Ron said there. Now, the next little bit of roster news from Tom Silverstein once again. He had tweeted out a quote. He quote tweeted that tweet we just showed, and he says, Packers called up tight end Drake Dabney from the practice squad last week. The 6'7", 259-pound Swinson will be a bigger option if they call someone up against the Bears. Obviously, You're down Tucker Kraft. You're now down Fitzpatrick with the Achilles. So you've got, your tight ends are Luke Musgrave, Josh Wiley, and now it's going to be a flurry of guys to see who you want to call up, right, Tim?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And, if you're not going to sign Big Dog, Mercedes Lewis, released from the Broncos recently, Messiah Swinson is your guy. That's the big dude you want. But Drake Dabney, looked okay. But we have a thin tight end room, right? Massive injuries to Tucker Kraft and, even Wiley. Wiley's just getting back after being concussed. We lost Fitzpatrick. So time will tell what the moves are going to be, but I love this. I love, bringing Swinson up into the fold and letting these guys kind of compete for who's going to get those first team reps, because right now Musgrave's TN1 for me, That's your first tight end. It's Luke Musgrave.
Definitely. All right, so there you go. That is the flurry of moves that the Packers made, and more importantly, kind of setting the stage for the future, the potential future backup of the Packers. Listen, if a quarterback drops in the draft to the third round and they had a first-round grade on him or something, you swoop him up in the third round, our boy Ridder's probably going to be on the practice squad or gone, right? So there's a lot of things that can happen before we hit training camp next year. But I think this is a good sign for him to end up in Green Bay, at least for the foreseeable future. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know about that move with Ridder. Let us know what you think about Malik Willis, as we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper now. But make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. All right, Tim, let's shift gears and talk a little Malik Willis, a little more detailed here. I see the chat kind of lit up with some Malik Willis talk in here. And when you kind of dive into this whole Malik Willis situation, we've spent quite a bit of time on it, right? Like, we've made our opinion very clear. We'd love to have Malik Willis back. I'd be okay with paying him $10 million per. Now, this is the time of year, guys. Brace yourself. There's a portion of the Packers sports media, fan base, cap gurus, whatever you want to call them. This is the doom and gloom season, okay? This is when they start building a bunch of doom for, oh, no, we don't have any cap for the future. We don't have any cap for the future. Lo and behold, you get into the new calendar year, you're going to get contracts restructured if you need to, unless you truly like what you've got on tap here for the 2026 roster. Money can be moved around. You can free up cap space. If you keep Diggs on the roster, right, then you're kind of out of money right now before any restructures. Now, when we get into the offseason, as soon as the season's over and the Packers hoist that Lombardi, I hope that's true, right? As soon as that's over, what we'll do is one of the first episodes we do is we go, okay, here's your true salary cap evaluation, right? We'll show you, okay, here's the maximum number that you can free up with restructures. Here's the minimum amount of cap you've actually got with no restructures. And we give kind of our best guesstimation of what the Packers will do in terms of freeing up money, right?
Scared money don't make money.
Thank you so much, Reality Shift, for the super chat. We'll hit that in just a second. But any super chats you guys got, we'll get them at the end of the segment here. We greatly appreciate you guys and gals. So with the Malik Willis stuff, Tim, one of the things that was shared here, Tom Silverstein put a tweet out and just kind of tying some loose ends together. Matt LaFleur said Malik Willis will be able to play this week. I got a little bit worried when I seen Ridder being signed to the active roster. Like, oh no, is Malik Willis going on IR, right? Because Malik Willis helps me sleep at night, knowing that he's your backup quarterback, right? If something happens to Jordan Love. But as Tom Silverstein said, LaFleur said Malik Willis will be able to play this week, so that's great news. So Ridder's signing could be just a way to make sure he's signed for the offseason. Either way, they shouldn't get caught without a quarterback on Saturday. So with him going to the active roster, it's kind of a twofer here, Tim. You're looking to have him protected through the offseason so you can bring him back like we just talked about. But also, if Malik Willis gets in that situation like we did the other day, you don't have to worry about Josh Jacobs being your emergency quarterback,
right?
Bringing Ridder up to play quarterback. Now, I think we would all agree that is not an ideal situation, right? But I like this move because you're kind of covering the bases, right, with an emergency quarterback, if you will, right? And then also you're kind of setting the stage for the future at the quarterback position. But, Tim, I want to get your take on this. LaFleur saying that Malik Willis will be able to play this week. This is great news, man.
It is. And with, the Ridder signing, it makes me wonder, like, are we going to dress 3? Or is Malik going to be a late scratch and Desmond Ridder's your backup? We don't know.
Right.
Bottom line, going forward, I like this move. It makes sure that we are not going to have to see Josh Jacobs be your emergency quarterback in Chicago on Saturday night, and that's all that matters, honestly, right? We got one game. We got one game right now for the rest of the year. You either win or go home. So load up, move guys around, do what you have to do, but make sure that whether it's QB 1, 2, or 3, that you have options for sure.
Yeah, Packer Doug says, bingo, Clayton keeps him getting picked up off of the practice squad. So that sounds like the move to make. Stephanie confirms it is a smart move to make. Completely agree. I think that's what Goody is thinking here. And that's what Tom Silverstein, and again, guys, you know how I feel about Tom Silverstein. I've always mentioned when he tweets something,
oh yeah,
there's a good chance that he's not going to say sources tell me, but if he tweets something like this, probably hearing something. He's tied in real tight, right, Tim, with the front office.
Probably verified, right? Spoon's been around since you and I were in middle school watching the Packers, right?
Yeah. So again, this is probably something he's kind of getting a little birdie in his ear, like, hey, this is why we're doing this. Now, we don't want you to go sources in the building say this, but you just throw a little breadcrumb out there, right? And I'm not saying all of his reporting is like that. I'm saying this situation probably applies, or at least a good chance that it applies. So now, Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback, Tim, he threw this tweet out here, and it made me feel like I wasn't losing my mind, okay? He said Malik Willis is going to get $40 to $50 million this offseason, man.
Pay that man his money.
Bro.
I can think of nobody better to get that money. As sad as I am to see him go, but my goodness, give Malik Willis the bag. Watch him start 25 new charities overnight. Let's go.
Yeah, and Tim and I would both agree from the selfish Packer fan standpoint, right, that we would hope that Willis doesn't get one offer, so he's a Packer, right? And we could give him a 4-year, $5 million per deal and have the best backup in the NFL and this and that. However, like Tim said, for Malik's sake, I hope he breaks the damn bank, man. I hope he gets
his money.
Because that's a dude that gives back. That's a guy who's got a big heart. that's a guy that when you give someone like Malik Willis that kind of money, the world is a better place. Because he can distribute that and do great things with it, which I love the fact that he's a Green Bay Packer, even if it was just for a couple of years. But $40 to $50 million, man. I don't know, Tim. We broke it down the other day.
I don't know, Tim.
We talked about Danny Dimes, right? Daniel Jones is projected $44 million in free agency. And then we went through all the other free agent quarterbacks. This is before the cuts that may or may not happen with like your Kyler Murrays and people like that.
Right.
And we immediately, what we say, I take Malik Willis over Daniel Jones. That's just me. Haven't seen it up close and personal,
Yeah, Daniel Jones having, more than a handful more starts than Malik at this point. But I think if you look pound for pound at, the quarterback position, flip a coin, right? My money's on Malik. I'll take Malik all day. He's got the mobility. I think he's a more mobile quarterback than Danny Dimes. And we know contracts aren't guaranteed. So 40 to 50 milli is a prediction. What does that really end up being when it's all said and done? But, if I was the GM of a dumpster fire franchise and I was looking for a quarterback right now, probably going to pay Malik Willis before I'm going to pay Daniel Jones. And that's no disrespect to Daniel Jones, but Malik's my dude for sure.
These are some of the things that come into play. Think about this. I'm going to give you 2 scenarios for Malik Willis. Imagine if the LA Rams approached him and said, hey, we want you for 4 years, $40 million per. And let's just say both teams offer the same amount of guarantee. 4 years, $40 million per. And the Miami Dolphins come to him and say, we'll give you $40 million per, right? And you think of the tax situation in California as opposed to Florida. And I don't know a whole lot about Florida. I imagine it's very similar to Tennessee, just based off what hearsay and everything. Probably going to go with the Miami contract because you're going to get to keep more of that money. I imagine that's something what you were kind of hitting at right there, right? Like how much will it actually end up being guarantee-wise? And, of course, taxes. Hey, these players, man, they're not above it either. They get taxed just like us, right? A lot more than us, actually, Tim, unless you're hiding a bunch of money up there I don't know about.
Yeah, the more you make, the more they take, right? What are you going to do?
Exactly. J. Cole says, I doubt Malik is getting $40 million. I can see $20 to $30 million. I can't push back too hard on that, Jay, Because again, when you look at the projected market value on Spot Track, they're wrong all the time on that, right? It's just kind of, it's giving you the most comparable players, their age, and what they gotten paid. So it's kind of it's almost like a starting point, right, Tim? It's almost like a little baseline to go, okay, now how hot is the market? How cold is the market? All those things, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 20 to 30 million. Unfortunately, I still wouldn't be willing to pay that for a backup quarterback in Green Bay, obviously. So, but yeah, I think that's a reasonable prediction there. Derek in the chat says all the best for Malik. Amen. I think we all agree with that, right? I haven't heard anybody talk bad about Malik Willis, man.
Derek was the one who hit the other chat too. He said, all the best to Malik. We wish you nothing but the best in the AFC.
Yes.
Go to an AFC team, please.
Get down there to Miami, man, where it's beautiful.
We'll meet you in the Super Bowl,
How about that? Mike in the chat says, so this is going to be how many Matt LaFleur has developed and sent on to new heights. Miss me with the fire him. Amen to that, which I had somebody jump in earlier on X. It's always the randos, man. It's got like 13 followers, and they, you know what I mean? It's like, where did you come from? You've never commented on any of my tweets before, and you just come out of the woodwork talking about Matt LaFleur's going to get fired. And they sparked that up with the John Harbaugh firing, which we'll talk about that at the end of the show. I want to get into that a little bit because the coaching carousel is a really, really fun place to be. But yeah, man, everywhere Matt LaFleur has gone, the quarterbacks have excelled, Mike. It's a great point, dude, for sure. Yep. So, and then let's get to this super chat real quick, Tim. Reality Shift being very, very generous here. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, have y'all noticed this season is eerily similar to the 2010 season? Both seasons have around 15 players on IR. Aaron Rodgers had a concussion late in the season and a vast wide receiver room just like in 2010. We've kind of talked about it a lot this year, right, Tim? It is really, really strange, the similarities. And now we're going into the playoffs. It's not the NFC Championship, but we're going into the playoffs to play in Chicago. It's just like these things just keep tallying up. It's wild, man.
Hey, that might be the only difference, right? We had to beat the Bears twice in 2010. This year we got to beat them one time to move on. That's probably the only difference, but I think Reality Shift is spot on right here. I mean, a lot of similarities, a lot of parallels between that 2010 team and this 2025 team. So I'm looking forward to Jordan in Chicago on a Saturday night, if you know what I mean. Let's go.
I'm looking forward to Nas Stackhouse dropping into coverage on a fire zone blitz and taking it to the house for sticks like BJ Raji. That's what I'm excited about. So. Imagine if a defensive tackle drops into coverage and picks a pass off. That's when we're going to, okay, everything's out the window. This, what do they say? Time is a flat. What do they say? What is it they say, Tim?
Flat circle. Time's a flat circle.
Right? There you go, man.
And it's either Big Nas Stackhouse or it's Barryn Sorrell, baby. Let's go. Let's get
Barryn Sorrell was a fun watch earlier. People were really, really impressed with Colin Oliver's tape. I was more impressed with Barryn Sorrell's tape, and we're gonna talk about that here when we get past the injury report for sure. So thank you for that super Reality Shift. Appreciate you, buddy. If for those of you listening to this or watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about Malik Willis? Has the number changed for you? What's the maximum amount of money that you'd be willing to pay him as a backup? If you're a fan of a different fan base watching this show, what would you be willing to pay Malik Willis? So let us know what fan base you're a part of. And make sure you all hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you know when we go live in the future. All right, Tim, let's shift gears now and talk about the injury report, man. I told you we had a lot to cover, and we're actually staying on time pretty good here. Look at us being professional, Tim.
Look at that.
Yeah. Don't get used to it, folks. All right. This ain't going to happen very often. I promise you that. So injury report dropped. And again, this is one of those, Tim, where they didn't actually practice. It was more of a walkthrough setting. But nonetheless, it still kind of gives you an idea of where these players are. And as Rob Nomofsky tweeted the injury report out over on X, he says only one DMP for the Packers today. All right. That did not participate was Bo Melton with the knee injury. Now, listen, I think that could be a big loss for the Packers. We know he wears all those different hats. He's arguably our best special teams player, right, in terms of kick coverage. And remind me again how many kick return or punt return touchdowns we've given up this year, right? It's 0 to the best of my knowledge.
I was going to say a big nothing burger,
big
right?
Goose, right? So he's a big player in that. You can't look at that stat and go, man, that's a great number, and then not give credit to the players that are making those plays and making that happen right now. Do we have players lying in the wait to step in there and make? Absolutely. I think Colin Oliver's one that could be sneaky good. on kick coverage, right? You know, he's just got the versatility. He's got that athleticism. I could see him doing it, but I just don't want to downplay this. Bo Melton did not participate too much with the knee because, Tim, that's an important part. I forget receiver, forget cornerback, special teams alone. That may decide this game as you're going in banged up into Chicago to try to beat the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I agree, especially considering the guys that we have banged up on special teams. You know, you talk about Zane Anderson out. You know, whether Bo's a corner, a receiver, or a special teamer, he's a valuable piece on this team. So I don't think you can understate the possibility that he doesn't play. I mean, maybe he does. We never know. We could get a limited tomorrow. We could get a limited going into this weekend, and maybe he's questionable going into the game. But, you know, if Bo's not out there, you know, your team is going to take a step back when it comes to special teams unit for sure.
Yeah. And in terms of the rest of the injury report for the Packers, let's go down the line with the limited participation, okay? Warren Brinson with the foot, Javon Bullard with the knee, Edgerrin Cooper with the shoulder, and then you've got Nick Nyman, linebacker with the pec, all right? And he's, you know, the practice window's open. He hasn't been activated yet, okay? Zach Tom with the back/knee, all right? Lucas Van Ness, actually his full participation, we'll get that in a minute. Dontavion Wicks with the concussion, limited. Sounds like he's going to be good to go. I imagine he's progressing through the concussion protocol. John Williams, the practice window is open. He hasn't been activated yet with the back. He was limited. And Malik Willis with the right shoulder/hamstring was listed as limited as well. Now, when we bounce back to the top of the list here, Tim, Javon Bullard, I'm hearing he's good to go. So that's a great sign. Obviously, when he grabbed his knee and hit that turf against Minnesota, I went, oh, crap, this could be huge here, right? So Bullard has played much, much better this year. He's grading out in the 60s according to PFF. We've seen him. I want to say he has the best passer rating when targeted of all cornerbacks on the roster as well. And I know he plays slot, but still, that's a big deal for him. That's a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, he's a dog, D-A-W-G, not just because he went to the University of Georgia, but he's a dog. If he can walk, he can run, he can play. That's his attitude. You've seen his post-game, you know, locker room interviews. This is the type of dude you want on your team. And him being limited today, you know, in a quote-unquote practice walkthrough scenario is a good sign. I'm looking for tomorrow. I believe tomorrow's a padded practice. I would anticipate he'd probably be limited or maybe a full participant. But bottom line, you know, you're going to have to handcuff that guy to the railing if you don't want him to play. And I love it. Love Javon Bullard.
Yeah, now Edgerrin Cooper limited with the shoulder. Obviously, he would have played last week if they weren't holding starters out, so he's good to go there. Nothing to worry about. Zach Tom, it sounds like he's good to go. Everything I'm hearing out of 1265 is he will be playing. So this holding guys out, it worked. Now, how bad does it hurt your momentum, right? That's going to be the big question. So we got to come out there and fire on all cylinders. I know Matt's chomping at the bit to get the guys out there in an actual practice tomorrow, not a simulated injury report here. So hopefully we don't see any setbacks. Guys, what we're looking for on Wednesday is we don't want to see anybody on Wednesday's list in the bold, right, Tim? We don't want to see anybody having a setback. Hopefully that does not happen. And you know what? If they need to be limited the rest of the week, I'm totally good with that, Tim. Let's just get
– And I'm sure that's the attitude, right? I think the staff's probably got that attitude, right? You trust these guys that biggest game of the year on the road in Chicago. You know, if we got to hold them out or make them limited so that they're, you know, at 100% or as close to they can be at 100% on Saturday night, we'll take it, right? You trust your veterans. You trust your even your young players, leaders on this team, guys that are playing through injury, for sure.
Yeah. And then the full participation, Matthew Golden with the Achilles, he's good to go, full participation, so no worries there. Lucas Van Ness with the foot injury, full participation, so they let him rest up another week last week. I think he's going to be ready to play with his hair on fire. And we're going to talk we're going to go through the Chicago Bears side here real quick at the injury report. But after this segment, we're going to dive into a little Barryn Sorrell, which was kind of surprised, man. To me, it looks like they're going to use Barryn Sorrell like they use LVN. It's almost like he's going to be LVN's backup, if that makes sense.
Here's
so
the guy.
I'll explain what that means here in a minute, talking about 3-tech, 4-eye, that type of alignment, right? And one of those guys that'll play more 5 than a 9, or not necessarily more, but he's going to be your 5-tech guy as opposed to someone who's a dominant non-tech guys. So, again, that is your update on the Packers injury report. Looking over to the Chicago Bears side here, Tim, same thing applies. The Bears held a walkthrough on Tuesday. Participation reports are an estimation. CJ Gardner, well, actually, let's start with the did not participate. CJ Gardner Johnson is the only did not, or no, he's not. He's one of 3 did not participate. To me, it's the biggest one, though.
Yeah.
He got a concussion, right? And you guys know when you go into the practice week, Wednesday will be the tail of the tape, right? If he's did not participate Wednesday again, he's probably going to be out this week. Probably going to be out anyway, is my guess, being in concussion protocol. That could be huge. Tim, didn't he have an interception against the Packers their first meeting this year? Wasn't he the one who picked that pass off in the middle of the field from Jordan Love?
He did.
So,
but he also got his ass cooked a few times in our matchups. And, if he's not in the lineup on Saturday, we as Packer fans might miss him a little bit. But, I'm not going to drag him. But you're right. Concussions are tough. If he's not looking, positive going into the end of the week, he's probably not going to play, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, other did not participate. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, defensive lineman with the concussion, did not participate. Probably not going to be ready by game time. I would imagine that's the same thing applies. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely those 2 guys will be available. And then Jade Walker, wide receiver with an illness, did not participate. I imagine he'll probably be good to go by the time the game gets here. Now you switch gears to limited participation, right? Kyler Gordon, defensive back with the groin. Now, keep in mind, he's on the reserve/injured, designated for return. So they're still trying to get him out there, right? So there's a chance that Kyler Gordon might be activated by the time the game gets here. He was limited. As you can see, it's kind of like John Williams and Nick Nyman on our roster, right? So there's at any moment they could hit, activate, and they're off and running, but also without knowing too much information behind the scenes, they may be a little bit further away, like I feel like John Williams is, right? I don't see any reason why you would activate John Williams with the back injury, unless you just want to try to get a little bit of tape out there, going into the offseason. Maybe that's the case as well. But Braxton Jones, offensive lineman with the knee, he was full participation, but also in that 21-day window there. Limited was DJ Moore with the knee. That one's very interesting, along with Roma Dunze, who has a foot injury. So you got 2 of their top wide receivers, Tim. It's basically DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and then, of course, who's our boy, the rookie? Really, really good rookie.
Colston Loveland?
No, not the tight end. Give me just a second. Luther Burden.
Luther Burden, Mr. Grab Keyshawn by the throat himself. Yes.
And I hate that he's a douche because he's such a good football player, man. We had him as the 3rd best receiver on our PTA big board, and, man, he has lived up to the hype. He is a good football player. But nonetheless, your top 3 receivers there are DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and Luther Burden. If one of those 2 guys, or possibly both, don't go, Tim, that's huge. What I think will happen, though, I think they will both be active. And now the question will be, is it the same thing that happened to Roma Dunze before, where he was active, played a few snaps, dang, the foot ain't healthy? That could be something that comes into play. But those 2, man, I'm keeping my eye on a setback there. If they go full participation or stay limited the rest of the week, we're probably going to have to deal with the Chicago Bears being pretty darn healthy at wide receiver.
Yeah, or as close to it as they can be, right? I think DJ Moore and Roma Dunze are 2 names you want to keep your eye on, for sure. But bottom line, man, it's win or go home, right? I think both teams, Packers and Bears, are going to be looking to get guys on the field. And if we got to pull them off or we got to keep them on a snap count, I'll take 20 or 30 snaps from one of my top guys in the last game potentially of the season, if it means we can possibly advance, versus holding them out, planning for a game in the future that may or may not exist. So I would anticipate the Bears have the same attitude, and DJ Moore and Roma Dunze are the 2 names to keep your eye on. I think Luther Burden's probably going to go for sure, right? Being that he's not on the injury report. Yeah,
he's good to go for sure. Yep. Yeah, he is tougher than a $2 steak. Again, I hate that he's such a douche, because he is a really good football player. He plays the game the right way, plays hard. He's not afraid of contact, all those things. It just seems like he got a little man syndrome. It's almost like he's an extension of Ben Johnson there. So,
but like you've said before, though, Clay, like he's a rookie, right? And sometimes you see guys mature. They go into their 2nd or 3rd year, they mature as players. So hopefully that's not a long-term thing for him, because I know looking at our PTA big board, Luther Burden was definitely on the radar. He was one of our favorites going into last year's draft.
And I remember specifically people saying they didn't like him. And I remember hearing Greg Cosell talk about him. Oh, I don't know, man. Luther Burden kind of feel him and Emeka Egbuka were the two that I was like, those two. And obviously Tet McMillan. Tet McMillan was going to be a slam dunk, right?
And obviously my boy Jaden Higgins, Iowa State, you know.
Right. There was a lot of fun wide receivers to break down for sure, man. But yeah, it's going to be interesting as we get in the draft season this year too. Yes, so sir. The final one here on the injury report, Ozzie Trapillo, rookie offensive lineman, quadricep, limited participation as well, something to kind of keep an eye on there. Let's hit this super chat, and then we'll move on. Caterpillar with the super. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, if Javon Bullard isn't 100%, it might open the door to seeing Diggs and CV outside and K9 in the slot, where I believe he played best. I think it would be worth at least taking a look at. What's your thoughts? I respectfully disagree, Caterpillar. In my personal opinion, I think Keyshawn has played significantly better on the outside than he ever did in the slot. That's just my opinion based off watching the tape and obviously going through all the analytics. Now, this season, Keyshawn struggled. There's no doubt about it. We say that, but the first matchup against the Bears, he got the game-winning interception in the end zone, right? Yeah. So he's made plays too. Through the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, he was leading the National Football League in PBUs. Now, I personally – hindsight being 2020, was really fired up at the time. But now as you get in the back half of the season, what you're seeing teams do is they're throwing double moves at Keyshawn Nixon. And the reason being, why did he have so many PBUs? He's very aggressive, biting underneath. Somebody runs an out route, he's biting. Somebody runs a slant, he's jumping the route, right? However, if they run a sluggo, a slant, and a go double move, he's cooked. If they run an out and an up or a stick nod, he's cooked. So positive and negative of someone who plays like that. With that being said, I personally feel like Keyshawn plays better on the outside than in the slot. And I definitely want Trayvon Diggs based off of what I've seen, and it's a small sample size, but what I've seen, I want him starting over Carrington Valentine. Now, people say, well, why don't you start him over Keyshawn and put Carrington out there? Carrington plays left cornerback. Trayvon Diggs plays right cornerback. Okay. Carrington plays right cornerback. That's from the defensive perspective. So he's going to take Carrington's place over Keyshawn's, right?
And we probably trust Trayvon Diggs and CV a lot less in the slot, right? We'd prefer them on the outside.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So the real question is, being a little bit thin at safety, you know, I'm assuming we're going to have X. We're going to have Evan Williams. Beyond that, Oladapo. So who is your, you know, let's just say for craps and giggles that Bull's not a good to go. Who's our slot? Who are you moving into the slot in that scenario?
I think strategically, in terms of deployment, there might be snaps where you throw Oladapo in there, but I'm with Caterpillar that if I had to choose, all right, who's going to be your slot corner if Bull can't go, I'm putting Keyshawn in the slot, and we're going to have to make one of these guys play out of place. And I imagine it would be Trayvon Diggs playing left cornerback as opposed to trying to make Carrington play over there, because we have never seen Carrington play left cornerback. He's always played right cornerback.
I'm glad you said that, because my thought was, do you move a safety? Do you move McKinney down into the slot and then move a Keyshawn or somebody back to safety?
It's possible. I think it's possible, but also we had to keep in mind that the Bears love operating out of 12 personnel, which means we're going to be in our base 4-3 the majority of the time, right? So if a safety goes down or Javon Bullard can't play, then it's not going to be as big of a deal against Chicago. But what will happen is, like, say Evan Williams goes down, you'll probably put Bullard back there at safety, right? And I hate even speaking about this. You guys know it's, injuries are part of the game. It sucks. We know that more than anybody this year. But yeah, that's kind of how I would look at it for sure. So, Caterpillar, thank you so much for the super chat. And before we move on, if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about the injury report? Do you like the way the Packers handled this whole injury situation? How do you feel about the Bears' health? Do you think that both of those receivers, both DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, will be good to go on Sunday? Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. All right, Tim, let's shift gears and talk a little Barryn Sorrell, man.
Here's a guy.
I'm telling you, man. I was really excited to watch Colin Oliver, and he did not let me down. He did not disappoint. I was happy with the way he played. It wasn't perfect. I can see how PFF would say he didn't play a great game. I don't think he played as bad as the grade they gave him, but that's just my personal opinion. When I turned on Barryn Sorrell, I was expecting it to look worse than Colin Oliver. Not that Colin Oliver was bad. I thought he played good. You know, it was his first career start, right? Actually his first career game in the National Football League, right? So now you get Barryn Sorrell's first career start. And when I turned on the tape, I was expecting to see a guy that probably held the point of attack pretty well. And I know he had some pressures and this and that. I don't know why I was kind of underselling what I was expecting, Tim. But boy, when I turned on the tape, I ended up liking Barryn Sorrell's tape better than Colin Oliver's, to be honest with you. I thought he played really strong at the point of attack. I thought he showed very, very good decision-making on when to jab out of his pass rush and go after the run. He seems quick, first step. He plays with power. You don't see anybody stonewall him at any point. He looks like a grown-ass man out there playing. And I got to be real, man. What I thought when I looked at Barryn Sorrell on tape was kind of looks like a young Preston Smith to me. That's what it felt like. It really did. Or maybe even a young Rashawn Gary. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a first-round caliber player that Rashawn Gary has been for so many years, right? Every single year, he's leading the Packers in pressures, leading the Packers in sacks. Rashawn Gary is. I don't know if Barryn Sorrell will play to that level, but he's kind of built from that same cut of the cloth, if that makes sense. So I was really excited about what we've seen. We're going to break down some of the numbers, show a little bit of the tape before we do. Do you get anything you want to add to Barryn Sorrell before we dive into it? Maybe just kind of your initial thoughts after you went back and watched it.
I would just say, to your point about Colin Oliver, the fact that Colin Oliver has that versatility factor, right? Obviously, I don't think we're going to put Barryn Sorrell at sackbacker anytime soon, right? Yeah, but the idea that Colin Oliver moves to a Mike or a Will or a Sam position in this defense is not completely out of the realm of possibility. So I feel like it's a good problem to have when you've got, a guy like Colin Oliver who can play, on the D-line, or he can play in the middle. And then you've got a guy like Barryn Sorrell who, has no ceiling right now. And I'm with you, Clay. I think his tape looked a little better on Sunday for sure. Yeah.
And it's funny, too, because I would have expected Colin Oliver to drop into coverage more than Barryn Sorrell. Barryn Sorrell actually dropped into coverage, I believe, 3 snaps. And there was a couple of times that we showed the coffee house look, which is a double A mug. And then they brung those guys on the left side. And Colin Oliver, who was playing left defensive end, dropped out, what we would call 99 drop, right? So really, really impressed with that. So that kind of makes you think, okay, maybe they see him as more of an Enagbare type, because they love to do that with Enagbare over the last 2 years. But it was really, really interesting to see that. And you guys can see this right up in anything we do over at Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. It's the best way to support the show. And we also give out some extra content. It plugs you into our community over there. You got access to all the chats. You'll have access to our draft boards as we step into draft season, free agency, the whole 9 yards. So that's the best way to find that info. So let's talk about the numbers here, Tim. So with Barryn Sorrell, here is what I tallied up. And as always, guys, in the chat, if I missed something or something you disagree with, throw it in the chat. Okay, let us know. Barryn Sorrell, first career start per NFL Pro. He played 51 snaps. He had 24 pass rushes, 24 run snaps, and 3 coverage snaps, okay? So let's talk about the pass rushes. Tim, he had 3 quarterback pressures and 1 sack. And I think his pressure percentage, I want to say it came to like 12%, something like that. Yeah. Solid number. Anything above 10%, solid number. But still, only 24 rushes, 3 pressures, and a sack. Pretty good day at the office rushing the quarterback, man.
I'm going to take that all day. And not to get ahead of ourselves, but 24 run snaps, 4 stops in the run game. I thought he looked really good in the run fit as well. You're seeing a guy in his first start making a difference right away. And that's why I said no ceiling on Barryn Sorrell. Sky is the limit.
Yeah, definitely. So that's his pass rush. Let's talk about his run snaps. Tim, I was more impressed with his run defense than his pass defense. And I immediately found myself thinking, I could see us moving on from Gary next year, and Barryn Sorrell can play very similarly to Gary against the run. It really felt like that. He had 24 run snaps and had 4 stops. So he had a better run stop percentage than he did quarterback pressure percentage. Now, it was only by 1. And again, 51 snaps is a pretty good healthy sample size in one game. Most of the time, these backup edge rushers, these backup pass rushers, and even defensive linemen on the interior, they don't play near 51 snaps. It's usually 10 snaps, 15 snaps, 18 snaps, right? So it's a pretty good sample size. But I was really impressed with his run defense. Again, we'll show the tape here in just a second. We got like 4 or 5 plays we'll show. But did that impress you? Because it really did kind of catch me off guard when I went back and watched the end zone cam, just how effective he was against the run.
No, it did. It impressed me a lot. And, we saw that on Sunday during the game. And his ability to kind of maintain gap integrity and then get off the block and still make a play on the ball carrier. We've seen that in the run fits. A guy that refuses to be blocked, which is awesome for a rookie in his first start. And the piss is hot with that one. We'll just say the piss is definitely hot with Mr. Sorrell.
Yeah. Jason Watt says, where has he been all season? Was he injured? He might have got a little banged up, but he was healthy most of the year, if not the entire year, Jason. The problem was there was other guys starting over him. Now, we're singing high praises of Barryn Sorrell. I was impressed with his start against Minnesota. However, when you look at it on the season, I'm pretty sure NFL Pro had him at a 9% pressure rate. So even though he played good Sunday against Minnesota, to put that up against Rashawn Gary's pressure rate, Rashawn Gary was at 12.5%. Okay. Rashawn Gary is, outside of Micah, leads the team in sacks. Rashawn Gary led all the edge defenders in run stops as well and run stop percentage. Okay. So if you were to tally up Barryn Sorrell's run stop rate and pressure rate along with sack rate, Gary was significantly better than Sorrell this year. Okay. And again, Sorrell didn't have, a whole bunch of snaps. Hell, Gary didn't either. They did that heavy rotation like they always do, other than Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons playing 85, 90% of the snaps. However, where's Micah Parsons at right now, guys? He's on injured reserve.
He's in the training room, getting back early. We're already ahead of schedule.
So when people get mad about and not that Jason's not doing this at all. He's just simply asking, where has Barryn Sorrell been this year?
Yeah.
When people get upset that Gary isn't playing more snaps, we paying him a lot of money. Why ain't he playing more snaps? Or why ain't this guy playing more snaps? This and that. We highlighted over the last 2 seasons how these guys stay healthier than your Max Crosby's, your TJ Watts, right? Because they're not playing as large of a percentage of the snaps, right?
Like Emilio says, hockey line rotation, right?
It's a real thing.
Yep.
Absolutely, man. It's a real thing for sure. So 3 coverage snaps, like we said, a little bit of fire zone blitzing, coffee house mug, bringing those guys on the pressure and dropping him back into coverage. I think I counted 3 coverage snaps there. Now, in terms of alignment, we always talk about technique, right? If you'll grab that graphic for me, Tim, and throw it up. When you hear us talk about technique on the defensive line, it's our way of relaying information to you guys rather than just saying he played D tackle or he played left end, right? We're letting you know exactly where they line up in terms of technique. So the even numbers, when you're talking technique, if you hear us say a 2 tech or a 0 or a 4 or a 6, that means they're lined up directly over the head of an offensive lineman or a tight end, okay? And specifically, you start in the middle and you work your way out. Right over the center playing nose tackle is a 0 tech, okay? If you play directly over the guard, that's a 2 tech. If you play directly over the tackles, that's a 4 tech. Directly over a tight end, that is a 6 tech, okay? Now, if you play out wide, that's what we call a wide 9. If there's a tight end on that side of the field and you're on the outside shoulder, they call it a 7 tech, okay? And some people, they call it a little bit different. This is kind of what I've always known globally as the techniques. Now, in between are the odd numbers. So if you play in the A gap on either side, that's a 1 tech. If you play in the B gap, that's a 3 tech. If you play in the C gap, that's a 5 tech, so on and so forth. So where it gets a little bit specific is if you're ever playing the inside shoulder. Now you're splitting hairs, right? But it's important to coaches, I promise you. If you're playing the inside shoulder of an offensive lineman, you now throw an I in there. So, for example, if you're playing the inside shoulder of a guard, that's a 2I. If you're playing the inside shoulder of a tackle, that's a 4I. The inside shoulder of the tight end, that is a 6I, okay? It's just 6 inside, 4 inside. That's how I've always...
Also called a shade, right? Depending on who you're with.
And some people look at that a little bit different, Tim. Most of the time, what I've always heard, and I think this is pretty universal, Coach Lynn, you correct me if you guys do it different. Shade is when you're playing slightly on the inside shoulder of the center, either side. Okay, that's what they refer to as shade technique.
So closer to a 1, yeah.
Yes, right. You're not really playing 0 tech, you're playing shade. So they don't call it 0I. I've always heard it called shade. Okay, so shade left, shade right from the defense's perspective. So that's it. You can drop that down now. Thank you. And I wanted to explain that to anybody new here that may not know that, because here are the alignments on the plays that we're going to show that Barryn Sorrell kind of flashed on. All right, we're going to show you the 4 stops. We're going to show you the sack. We're going to show you the 3 quarterback pressures, that type of stuff. Okay. So with that being said, 3 coverage snaps. We got that down. Here are the below alignments. He lined up in the 5 tech one time. He lined up in the 4-eye once. He lined up in a 4 directly over the offensive lineman one time, but he played 9 tech 4 different times. And I want to point that out because you've seen a lot, not just the plays we're going to show you, but throughout the day, he would play a little 3 tech. He would play a little 4-eye, right? And that tells me they're looking at him maybe more like an LVN. Remember how LVN in the cheetah package, they would put LVN as the 3 tech or the 4-eye, right?
Yeah.
It looks like that Barryn Sorrell is the backup 4-eye in the cheetah. And if you guys know what the cheetah package is, it's basically we're putting in 3 pass rushers, 3 edge defenders, and only 1 defensive tackle, rather than our standard nickel 4-2-5 with 2 defensive tackles and 2 edge defenders. Okay, so the cheetah is kind of like the old school NASCAR package. The NASCAR package, they would put 4 pass rushers and 4 edge defenders in, right? Or maybe a hybrid player here or there, and you're trying to speed rush the quarterback, right? You're not worried about the run. You're not worried about the beef in the middle. They would call that a NASCAR package. This is called a cheetah package, where it's kind of a hybrid between a NASCAR and your traditional nickel 4-2-5. So let's talk about the plays that we lined up here. The first one you'll see here, Tim, what's he playing? Let's count it off from the center. If you can see my cursor here, 0, 2, 4. I would call that a 4-eye. Notice how he's not completely splitting the tackle or the tight end. Actually, we would call this a 5 tech. I apologize. He's on the outside shoulder of the tackle. We would call this a 5. So this is the 1-5 tech rep. Okay, let's watch the tape. So again, look at engage now. First of all, being held like
fighting through a hold. Look at him.
Yes, absolutely. And still gets the pressure, even though the ball comes out and it's completed. Again, a big no call on that hold. Let's watch it one more time. Again, using the hands, leverage.
Oh, yeah, that's a textbook hold for sure.
Yeah. Tackled him to the ground. Typically, when they take you to the ground like that, they will call it. So on that specific play, what you have is our boy Barryn Sorrell playing a 5 tech. Now, this one, let's count it off, right? 0, 2, 4 inside. That's a 4-eye look, right? So he's playing 4-eye here. Let's roll the tape. Let's actually go half speed so we can actually enjoy it here. So on the 4-eye look, right? Watch him wash across. No hesitation at all, running the quarterback down the opposite side of the field. So, and you look at this and go, okay, is this some kind of stunt, Clayton? It looks like a torch stunt, but also notice Brinson is playing a touch spy. See how he's not really going after the quarterback? He's kind of hovering there in the middle, and then Barryn Sorrell goes and gets the pressure. 4-eye all the way across the field. You've seen him run down. Granted, it was Max Brosmer, I'm pretty sure, or maybe I think that was Max.
That was McCarthy. I think
is that McCarthy? Okay, yeah. So that's pretty impressive. McCarthy is a pretty mobile quarterback, right?
Yep.
For Barryn Sorrell to run him down like that was pretty impressive.
I think it's a highlight to the athleticism for 99 right there. You know, regardless of what we're looking, his eyes are on the quarterback, you know, not getting washed out of the play. And then the athleticism takes him, you know, to the boundary with the quarterback. You know, these are what we talk about when we talk about guys flashing on tape in a game that didn't really mean anything. You see guys like Barryn Sorrell flashing like this. It gives you hope for the future.
Right. And now this is one that I labeled as a 9. Now you'll notice they've got a nasty split with the receiver here with Naylor. And he's not really playing the tight end position, right? He's kind of playing that wing area, but I would just call it a 9 tech. He's lined up pretty far outside. Let's watch him work. All right, run and play. Look at him jab in, Tim. That's a good run rep. You see what I'm saying with the run defense, man?
Yep.
Really impressed me with how he played the run. Let's go half here.
I think this might have been the play when I shot the text to the group chat, and I was like, man, Sorrell is flashing in the run fit. This was one of them that really got my attention in this game. Love to see it.
And again, watch him. He's kind of jumping inside, no hesitation, quick burst, great tackle for him right there too.
Yep. And a guy refusing to be blocked. Oh, you want to engage? Get off me. I'm going to the ball.
He works really good with his hands, man. His hands are really, really impressive for sure. So that's the big thing that sticks out to me. His hands And when he engages, his feet never stop moving. He just drives. He's got a motor on him for sure.
Kind of reminds you of someone else we're familiar with in Green Bay.
It does, don't it?
Dare I say Mr. Parsons?
Man, Micah is just it's always amazing to me. Like when I look at Barryn Sorrell, I can understand how he keeps his legs moving because he's got such a strong back. He's just a big dude. Micah's not that big. And I'm like, he should not be able to run through 600 pounds of blocking like the way he does. But his just legs never stop. He just got, I don't know if he's got country strength or what, but Micah he's fun to watch. He really is.
What's the old saying? If you can't be stronger, be faster, right?
Yeah.
Can't be faster, be stronger. Love
it's
it.
Still wild to think that he runs a 4.340. That's just insane. So next rep here for Barryn Sorrell, let's count it off, right? 0, 2, 4. So this is going to be a 4-tech rep, all right? And we got it at 50, so we're good. Let's watch him work, see if it's a run or a pass. All right, ball snap. They're going to hand it off. Look at him fight through that block. He got, oh boy. And I don't know if is that Darasol that he just beat like a drum, Tim? I think it might be. Watch this.
67?
Yeah. No, so 74.
74, yeah.
And typically your guards, man, they're pretty good in the run, right? Watch him. Get off me, little boy. Oh.
See, that's what I talk about. It's like the hands and feet working together, right? It's like an engagement and then refusing to be blocked. And then, my feet are doing what my hands aren't doing. My hands are doing what my feet aren't doing. And I'm going to get to the ball.
Yeah. Again, this is what I was most impressed with was his run defensive snaps. I see the super chat there. Thank you, Pack Attack. We're going to hit it for you in just a minute when we wrap up, man. We appreciate you. Again, so just that's what I mean by his run tape really, really jumped off the screen to me, man. It was pretty impressive for sure. I wasn't expecting that. All right, next rep here. Now, Tim, we got him in a 0, 2, 4. He's directly over the tight end. That's what we would call a 6-tech. I called it a 9 because I want you guys to be aware of when I feel like he would have been playing a 9-tech if there's not a tight end there, okay? That's why I listed it as a 9. Technically, a 6 technique right over top of the tackle or over the tight end. Let's watch him work. So look at him. That's why it's a 9. Okay, so it's a 6. And see, last second shifts outside to a 9. And just look at him hovering. And then going to have a motor coming back across, fight through a block, make the tackle.
Love it. You see how he maintains the edge too, in case it was an option or a boot.
Yep.
If McCarthy would have rolled out, he would have been sacked for sure.
Cover your assignment. And once your assignment is no longer a threat, you go as hard as you can to the ball, right? Great job. Great technique, for sure.
Absolutely. And again, a rookie. This is not a second, third, or fourth year guy. This is a rookie.
Yeah, definitely. That's it kind of feels like he's a veteran, right? Like we forget that he's a rookie for sure.
I feel like we're talking about him kind of like we were talking about Edge Coop last year, right? We said a lot of the same things. A guy that doesn't really look like a rookie out there.
Right. All right, next snap. This is going to be a wide 9 look. Obviously, he's beyond the outside shoulder of a flexed out tight end. That's what we mean by wide 9. He's way out here, right? Ball snapped out of the gun, and it's going to be a pass. Look at him work off the edge. Fight, bang, finishes. That should have been a 3-4 yard gain by the quarterback. Instead, it's tallied as a sack.
Not 1, but 2 blocks that he got off of, right?
Yep. So just a good little, it's not like that was a quick win pressure or anything like that with a sack. It's just doing your assignment, gets the chip, fights through it, eyes on the quarterback, knows exactly where the ball's at. Here's a great job. Just showing instinct there. And again, that's more of like go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to say, like you said, like sees the chip coming. That's instinct, right? He almost steps back like, oh, you're going to chip me? I'll let you chip me. And I'm out of here.
And to me, that was like more of a run defensive rep, right? The way he played it, but nonetheless, it counted as a sack. I'm pretty sure that went down as a sack, if I remember right. So here we are in a wide 9 again. All right, let's watch him work off the edge, wide 9. A little motion there from the jet sweep motion. And look at our boy. Notice how he stayed to the edge. Make sure there's no boot or anything, right? Just like the previous play or 2 plays ago. And then on the ball, finishing the tackle, another stop in the run game, man.
You're right about that tackle for him too. That's something you stress with young players. And, honestly, by the time you're at the NFL level, you should have tackling for him down, but it's refreshing to see him so fundamentally sound.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, it'd be real easy to try to blow him up. No, let's get at the waistline, wrap up the knees, slide down to the ankles, just make the freaking tackle. Nothing flashy. You don't have to blow the ball carrier up every play because that's how you miss tackles, right? So I thought he was fundamentally sound. And again, we kind of already talked about it numerous times. When it comes to Barryn Sorrell, I watch his tape and I don't think this guy's a rookie. He looks like he's a veteran. Now, again, like Greg Cosell said about Jordan Love, and he says about every other player in the league, especially the young players that are kind of establishing themselves, he has talent. You see the power. You see the quick bursts. You see he plays with leverage. You see he plays his scheme. He plays within his responsibilities of the run fit. He's protecting against the boot, burst to the ball, all these things. Are you going to be that player every single day, every single week, every single month of every single year? You're going to be that consistent player. Knowing his background a little bit and hearing his draft story and hearing, his parents and the upbringing, and I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. I think this dude is going to be all about football in Green Bay. He came to the draft on his dime, and lo and behold, he gets picked by the hometown Packers while he's there, just wanting to experience the draft. You talk about, and Emilio's mentioned this several times, when you go into the draft season, the one thing it's so hard to determine is, does a person really love football? Do they truly love the game? If you could guarantee yourself that information, that takes a lot of people off of the draft board. If he doesn't really love the game, you don't want him on your football team. Barryn Sorrell loves the game of football, man.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Wasn't it cool to be sitting in the stands when he got drafted? That was so awesome, man. It
was so awesome. And I wish I'd thought about it. I'd pull that tweet up. We actually recorded live from in the bowl, Lambeau Field, when they drafted Barryn Sorrell. And it was just the coolest environment, sitting there with other Packer fans, watching it take place. It's going to be awesome if he ends up being in the Packer Hall of Fame, by the end of his career. Just know we watched him get drafted. We watched his entire career. And, it's going to be cool. So there you go, guys. Barryn Sorrell, his first start in the books. I was impressed. I thought he played really well. If I had to grade him out and say, okay, how did he play overall? I'd probably give him a B. I think I said Colin Oliver would be a B-. I gave Barryn Sorrell a B. That's what I would give him on a letter grade there. So really, really impressed. Let us know in the comments. You're watching this video back later. How do you feel about Barryn Sorrell's first career start for the Green Bay Packers? Did he impress you? Maybe not so much. Is there another player you'd rather see him in the lineup rather than Barryn Sorrell? Make sure you let us know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live. All right, last topic, Tim. We'll try not to spend too much time on it. I got rapid fire, 4 different tweets to hit here. Big news broke today across the National Football League. Is one of the longest tenured. I think he's been in Baltimore for 18 years. And that's John Harbaugh. Breaking news. Fired from the Baltimore Ravens. Ian Rappaport put the tweet out. The Ravens and longtime decorated head coach John Harbaugh are parting ways after days of discussion per the insiders. Major decision in Baltimore.
Hold on, I'm checking my watch, Clayton. Looks like about 5 minutes before he's hired somewhere else.
Yes. Completely agree. This dude he's going to have a head coaching job somewhere next year. This is a Super Bowl winning coach, right? Had a lot of success at the NFL level. You could tell his players respect the hell out of him, right? And I already see people in the chat throwing like, Daryl saying Texas native. Or maybe he's talking about Barryn Sorrell.
He's talking about Barryn Sorrell, baby.
Yeah, that's a Texas guy, yeah. Right here, J. Cole says, I said the Raiders. So does he kind of looks like, don't he look like a Raider, Tim? Couldn't you just see him throwing a Raider in on there?
Why not? They already flipped the coin for the 5th time in the last 6 years with veteran head coaches that haven't worked out. Maybe Harbaugh is the answer in Vegas. You never know.
Yeah.
Vegas or Miami, you never know. Mr. McDaniel could be on the hot seat. You never know.
Chris the Casual says, hire him immediately for defense coach. If he did not get a head coaching job, I don't say I love Rich Bisaccia. You guys know I'm not a fire Rich Bisaccia guy. But this dude right here, this is a special teams coach at the core. If he didn't get a head coaching job offer, absolutely bring him in as a special teams coordinator. Tim, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that's happening, right?
Probably not.
Yeah,
probably not, right? And I think if you're a guy like Harbaugh, you're looking for that, right? I'm either going to be, a head coach somewhere, or I'm just going to hang it up and retire, right?
Yeah. And here's the other thing: if he does get a head coaching offer, and he's like, I don't want to do that, he may go coach with his brother, right? That could happen out in L.A. with the Chargers. I wouldn't put that past him, right? Make him his assistant head coach. And that would be a dream come true for those two brothers. You know what? Maybe he takes a year off. That happens a lot too. Maybe sometimes coaches go, I don't want a head coaching job right now. It's possible
that with Big Mike. Big Mike did the same thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, I just threw a tweet out there. Jeff Hafley was reported to be likely candidate for the Giants job. This is seemingly good news for Packers fans. As Adam Schefter tweeted out, John Harbaugh is expected to emerge as the favorite for the head coaching job of the New York Football Giants. Harbaugh will be in demand for many teams, not just the Giants. This would be great news that the Giants threw the book at Harbaugh, Tim, because now, to me, the Giants is that job that I could see maybe Jeff Hafley taking a little bit less money in terms of other head coaching job offers because he's from that area. He's from the Jersey area, if I remember correctly, right? Hafley is.
Right.
So that was the job that was kind of linked to Hafley, and that's what I meant by how this could affect Jeff Hafley's decision moving forward, because if now he leapfrogs Hafley and other coaches as the top candidate for the Giants, maybe that's the domino we needed to fall to keep Hafley in Green Bay. Although I think we would all agree Hafley isn't as hot a commodity as he was, early in the season with the defensive struggles here recently, but still, he gets an interview. He's going to crush that interview, and all bets are off, right? So what do you think about that, man, and how that kind of ties together with Hafley?
I just think with Coach Harbaugh, he's a proven head coach in the National Football League. And no disrespect to Coach Haf, but he's not. His head coaching experience is at Boston College. It's not in the NFL level. He's proven that he can be a coordinator at the NFL level. And to your point, I'm sure Coach Haf will get more than a handful of interviews for a head coaching vacancy in this league. But I do think that for Packer fans, that's good news. Hopefully the Giants hire John Harbaugh tomorrow as their head coach. And, that's one team we can check off the list for potential suitors for Jeff Hafley. I would think that would be the one thing that might separate those two, is just Harbaugh's record as a head coach in the league and the fact that Hafley has not been the head coach yet in the NFL.
Yeah, and Bates says, yes, Haf is a Jersey fella, so he did confirm that. Thank you so much, Bates. Coach Lynn said in the chat, I think we will get Hafley back. If I had to bet the farm on it, Coach, whether Hafley leaves or stays in Green Bay, I'm with you. I think Hafley's staying in Green Bay. That being said, I do think there's a slight chance that he's going to get interviews. I do believe that'll happen. He'll get coaching interviews, and he's going to crush those interviews. Now, they'll also look at what he's done with Green Bay's defense and go, they took kind of a step back this year. This guy's a hotter commodity here. You got a Super Bowl winning head coach in John Harbaugh. B-Flow is going to probably interview for a lot of teams as well. The defense coordinator in Minnesota. You've got the defense in Houston has been crushing. Their DC, right? Same thing with the Chargers. I think theirs is going to get Vance Joseph in Denver.
Have we heard anything about Raheem Morris? Has he been interviewing?
That's another thing. Raheem Morris was fired in Tampa, right? And they immediately said, they asked Matt LaFleur earlier today, have you been in contact with Raheem? You could tell he didn't want to say it, but he went, yeah, I've talked to him. And they said, is there a chance you bring him in? He said, we haven't had those discussions. So he kind of said it without saying it, but did he really say it? Or what did he say? So I wouldn't be surprised if you bring him in as an extra set of eyes throughout the playoffs, right? That would be a good move for sure. I'll tell you, this guy, though, could you imagine if Matt reached out to John Harbaugh and said, how much money would it take to have you come in and work with Rich Bisaccia on our special teams throughout the playoffs?
Here's the guy.
Boy, there you go. Well, what if somebody offers him a head coaching job before then? That could happen. But what if they didn't? What if they interview him and said, okay, let's let the smoke settle. Let's see what candidates are available. Why not having John Harbaugh come in throughout the playoffs?
Unless, like you said, the opportunity to coach with his brother, right? Be an assistant head coach or a coordinator. Yep.
Yeah. And his brother's still in the playoffs. They could win a ring together, so to speak, right? So I just love this time of year, man. The head coaching carousel, when that gets cranked up, both in college and the pros, it's just an exciting time. And it's really, really fun to see how the NFL is going to shape moving forward. So just a couple other tweets here from that. Adam Schefter tweeted out, in the first 45 minutes after John Harbaugh was fired this afternoon, Tim, this is what you were talking about. His agent, Brian Harlan, said he received calls from 7 NFL teams expressing interest in his client. There currently are 7 NFL head coaching openings, including Baltimore's. You do the math, Tim.
Not 1, but not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7? Good Lord.
Right. Yeah, so again, man, he's going to have a head coaching job.
Yeah.
He is. Now,
I guess
will it
we can
happen?
stop entertaining the other scenarios, right? It's either head coach or he's hanging it up.
Yeah, the fact that allegedly all 7 openings for NFL coaching jobs probably reached out to him tells me they want to hire him sooner rather than later, right? You've probably got 3 of the 7 that's willing to hire him right now. That might deter from what the aforementioned him being maybe just an extra set of eyes in house somewhere, right? So he'll probably get a head coaching job and, hey, let's get started right now, right? Go ahead and start put your coaching staff together. And I imagine a lot of those guys will come over from Baltimore with him, I would imagine.
See, that's the other end of the spectrum we haven't talked about, right? It's not just Harbaugh as a coaching candidate, but the staff that he's going to bring with him potentially.
Yeah. And here's a little bit more specifically some of the openings, right? Let's see if all 7 are there. They are. So Adam Schefter tweeted out, updated NFL landscape. Here are the head coaching openings, right? Ravens, Giants, Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, Raiders. Okay. Again, Ravens, Giants, Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, Raiders.
The Raiders.
United Bates says Morris has an interview scheduled with Tennessee this week. So Raheem Morris already getting a head coaching interview with the Tennessee Titans there. So
Jamie coming in hot with the info. I love it. Thank you, Bates.
Always. And then you got the GM openings, Tim. Dolphins and the Falcons, and John Eric Sullivan, I think, was already seeked out by either the Dolphins or the Falcons, maybe both. One of those 2 teams at a minimum have already reached out to one of our top executives within Goody's staff. John Eric Sullivan got multiple job interviews last year. Obviously, didn't get a job there in terms of general manager. He stayed with Green Bay, but he's kind of Goody's right-hand man, so to speak, right? So going to be interesting to see where he ends up. But, man, it's a fun time of year, Tim. We got the coaching carousel, the GM carousel cranking up. Just thought it'd be important to kind of hit that John Harbaugh news that came down the pike. And again, there's some fans that go, and you think Matt LaFleur ain't on the chopping block? Listen, John Harbaugh's a great coach. John Harbaugh is 36th all time with a 614 winning percentage. Matt LaFleur is 16th at 654. Now, John Harbaugh won a ring. Got it. Valid point there. When was the last time he won the Super Bowl? Can somebody tell me? I don't even know. It's been quite some time, though, right? If I remember correctly.
I'm sure Raiders fans were asking the same question about Pete Carroll as well as their head coach.
Yeah, definitely. Coach Lynn says in the chat, yeah, I'm worried about John Sullivan. Yeah, I think that's the thing too, though, Coach, is like he put together a playoff, or he helped put together another playoff team with the Packers with the youngest roster in the league, right? But I don't think people see the Packers right now as like, wow, these guys are dominant, right? I imagine they're probably going to teams like maybe the Patriots, maybe the Rams, maybe the Seahawks, probably looking to grab someone within the Seahawks organization, which shout out to Schneider, man. Schneider, who came up under Ted Thompson and obviously is the general manager for Seattle. Dude's done a hell of a job in Seattle, man. They won multiple Super Bowls under him, right? And now they flipped that right back around again, and they're going to be competing for another Super Bowl here throughout the playoffs. We'll see how long they last. But, yeah, it's really, really interesting to kind of see everything unfold and where people are going to end up for sure. I am a little worried about John Eric Sullivan too, Coach, but I will try to remove my Packers bias. I think I would have other teams' executives in mind before John Eric Sullivan, just how the Packers have struggled a little bit with depth, right? And not that he wouldn't take a different approach, even though, we've seen Schneider do totally different things than what Ted Thompson done when he went to Seattle, right? So everybody's kind of their
that would be the only point in bringing a guy like that in, right? Is if you want some kind of change, right? If you want it to be the same, then you're probably going to look elsewhere.
Yeah. J. Cole in the chat said, I'm not going to lie. I had that thought for a minute, Clayton. I was surprised Baltimore fired him. Yeah, it was a little bit, I don't know, man.
That was kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it was because Lamar walked off the field and threw his stuff at the Baltimore logo and was frustrated? Yeah,
right. Yeah, it could have been, and maybe that's the other thing is they just paid Lamar all this money. Like he's under contract. I think his cap hit is like 60 or 70 million next year, something crazy. So it's like, okay, you've got your franchise quarterback, right? We've ponied up the guaranteed money for him. We feel like we've put a good product out there for you, and you didn't get the job done. You look at somebody like Baltimore, and I can see how it's like, okay, yeah, man, we got to get over the hump. You didn't even make the playoffs, right? And then you go to Matt LaFleur, and again, I hate to keep coming back to it, but it is what it is. That's why I hate it when we're the youngest team every year. It's because it's like that excuse is there, you know? And again, it's like somebody said the other day, it's not an excuse, it's a reason. That's the best way to explain that. Like, it's not an excuse. Matt LaFleur isn't going, but guys, I can't win because we're young. He never says that, right? He's saying no excuses. We need to get the job done. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that how hard it is to win a freaking Super Bowl when you got the youngest roster in the league. Like I said, you ain't got to be the third oldest, but let's add a little bit of veteran, you know, a little bit more veteran into this team and
sprinkle them in a little bit here and there.
Right. Raise us from rather than be the youngest team in the league, let's go to the 5th youngest team. Right.
We talked about that preseason. We were looking for that Drew Dahlman signing at center. I feel like that might have made an impact on our O-line play this year, I think.
Yeah, and I've seen a little bit of this on X as well, Packer Doug. Packer Doug says the scuttlebutt is that Lamar had the ear of management and had issues with Harbaugh. I don't know. I've seen those rumors too. I'm with you. I don't know if there's any validity to that, but I will say this. Typically when a coach gets let go like that and they keep the quarterback, I mean, think about what happened in Miami. They let the general manager go, right? Actually, no, it was B-Flow. It was their head coach, Brian Flores. Yeah. They let him go because him and Tua had problems. Well, they chose the quarterback. They brought
in McDaniel and kept their GM. Yeah.
Now, why did they choose the quarterback? Because they have more guaranteed money tied up in him, and they thought he's the future. That's the more valuable commodity than the head coach, and that really hasn't worked out for Miami. Right now, Tua's been benched. That's another one, Tim, we got to keep an eye on. Will he be back with Miami? There's going to be probably a huge dead cap number with Tua, but is that someone that could saturate the market a little bit in terms of quarterback free agents that might drive the value down a little bit on the league? If you had to choose, you had to give one of these two quarterbacks $40 million per year, would it be Malik Willis or Tua Tagovailoa? I think most people would say Malik, but I can also understand Tua earned that contract a couple years ago. It ain't like
if you ask Bama fans, they'd probably say,
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Right. And then the other thing with Tua is the concussion issue, right? Like that's a real issue there as well in terms of the future. So, crazy. Yeah, and Packer Doug points out that's wild. Lamar, near 30 years old, he's not getting any faster, right? If anything, he's going to start to slow down. Like we've seen Aaron. Now, Aaron was never as fast as Lamar. Don't take that the wrong way. But we've seen Aaron was able to evolve his game when he kind of lost the legs a little bit. Like, okay, now I'm going to manipulate the RPO game, his quick release, all that, which, man, how fun was it watching Aaron Rodgers the other night, man? Every time the defense let him down, every time special teams let him down, put the ball in A-Rod's hands, and he just took him right down the freaking field like a dog, dude. Did you see him embrace Mike Tomlin at the end where he said, man, thank you for bringing me here? And Tomlin said, hell, man, thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming, right?
Yeah. Absolutely awesome.
And great job by Aaron in that post-game interview with Melissa Stark, too. She was asking him about, retirement and all this stuff. And you could tell Aaron was trying to just soak that moment in. And I think what was telling, too, was when she asked him, how did it feel sitting there, watching Baltimore march down the field after you got your guys in the end zone? And Aaron was, typical Aaron Rodgers, said it sucked. It sucked to watch that, watch them get into range. But what a great moment, man, to see, Mr. AR-12, a.k.a. AR-8 for now, before he goes into the Hall of Fame as a Packer. I will die on that hill. He's going into Canton as a Packer. But I think it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, I love what Doug says here, NFL moment of the year, Clay. It's just so cool seeing him smile, seeing A-Rod smile, man, for sure. Yep. This made me smile, Tim. I don't know if you've seen this soundbite. We'll wrap up with this, but did you see this from Mike Tomlin? He was asked in the post-game presser, right? He said, I'll kind of play the audio. Hopefully you can hear it well enough, but the question essentially was, what happened if he had made the kick? Talking about Baltimore's kicker making the kick, and now Tomlin's out. I think what they were alluding to was, would you be fired? Would you be out in Pittsburgh? Would you retire? Listen to Mike Tomlin. And again, this is the guy, one of my favorite quotes from Mike Tomlin was he said, if you're race sensitive, you're a racist. And I love that quote because what he was saying is, if you see race, if you see skin color, no matter if you're trying to, I don't like using this term, but people say the race card. If you're trying to use that for something, you're a racist as much as the person who is truly racist, right? I just love that he said that. If you're race sensitive, you're a racist. Why are we still looking at skin color, right? He has these little quotes, these little sayings that I'm just like, damn, I love that dude, man. I love the way he thinks, right? He's very witty. Listen to this one, guys. This took the cake for me. And if you can't hear it, I'll tell you what he says afterwards. Here we go.
Making that kick, season's over, comes to a screeching halt, and missing that kick and the winter going on.
You know how it is. If my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle. All right.
That was the end of the presser. We say aunt down here where I'm from, but he says, if my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle. Bro, Tim, it broke me up, man. I don't know. You got anything you want to add to that before we wrap? I don't know if I'm the only person that thought that was funny. I laughed out loud when he said it. My Steelers buddy, Worth, shout out to him. He's probably watching the show. He sent me the video. It was like, we were dying laughing, dude.
First of all, NFL royalty, Mike Tomlin, an absolute OG, a throwback to, the old school era, right? Took over for Bill Cowher and, has put together year upon year of excellent football there. In Pittsburgh. So yeah, I'm not going to say anything bad about Coach Tomlin. Arguably one of my favorite head coaches that hasn't coached for the Green Bay Packers for sure. So a lot of respect for him and, respect for anybody in that position when you're, under that kind of limelight and scrutiny and, people are taking every word that you say and, running it through a fine tooth comb. Coach Tomlin doesn't give a damn. He's going to call it like it is. He's going to say, what's real. And I think that's probably why him and Aaron get along so well, right?
Yes.
We all know Aaron's cut from that same cloth. And really, you look across that Steelers organization, there's a lot of guys like that have that same attitude. So it made perfect sense for those guys to link up. And, nothing but respect for Coach Mike Tomlin, for sure.
Yeah, and the chat reacting to that. J. Cole said they're going to try to cancel him, LOL. Good luck with that, man. Coach Tomlin don't care, man. That's what I love about him. He's like, you believe what you want to believe, I'll believe what I want to believe.
Yes. Tomlin will tell him just like Tupac LaFleur. He'll be like,
sit your butt outside.
That's exactly right. Oh, man. So, and then we'll wrap it up with Donnie Burr's comment. He says the Packers will win Saturday. Let's go, Donnie.
Let's go.
Love to see it.
I love that attitude. Let's put
man.
that where's that picture of Ben Johnson's stupid ass? Where is it? Oh, here it is. That's what he's going to look like on Saturday night. Let's go. I love it.
Yeah, and he already said, he kind of called his shot. We probably should have played that clip, but he basically said they're planning on winning these next 4 or 5 games. They're going to win a damn Super Bowl. And it sounded to me like they're overlooking the Packers big time.
Yep,
so
big time. And what's Matt telling the boys? Matt's probably telling the boys, hey, 1-0. Let's go. Let's get down there. Let's get a dub. We'll worry about everything else after that. We're not going to get ahead of our skis here. We're going to focus on what's right in front of us. So go Pack, go. 24-21 Packers. I don't do score predictions, but I'm doing one right now.
There it is. There it is. Ari Ironminer says Steelers versus Packers Super Bowl, man. I'm holding out hope. When they missed that kick the other night, I posted that video on X and I just put Packers Steelers Super Bowl back on, baby.
Let's go. We've been saying that since training camp, right? Let's go.
We're a long way from it, Tim, and we got to, listen, man, it's a grind and this team's banged up and all the things that we've talked about. It's going to be an uphill battle, but I'm excited.
Telling me there's a chance.
That's it. That's all you need, man. You got to take it to the dance. Let's go out there and dance, man. Let's cut a rug. So that being said, guys, that's it. We will be back tomorrow for PTA throughout the day. I should be able to do multiple streams tomorrow. So you'll be seeing us go live randomly. So make sure you hit subscribe and click the bell icon so you're notified when we do go live tomorrow. Also, if you're in here watching live right now, do us a big favor, man. Smash that like button. Spin those laces. We greatly appreciate it. If you're watching on X, go to YouTube, type in Packers Total Access, and sub to the channel there. I'm telling you, we appreciate you guys watching on X. We got a bunch of people, almost 400 people watching on X. However, you can't see the YouTube comments, right? And you can't comment on the YouTube comments. So if you're in YouTube, you can join the conversation in the YouTube chat, and it's a really, really cool dynamic. So make sure you guys are subbed to the channel that way as well. Tim, appreciate your time, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Clay. This was awesome.
All right, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow. My name's Clayton. That's Tim. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.